Hey, Rob Cairns here with the STM show. In today's episode, I sit down with Todd Jones and Ryan Waterbury, and we have a bit of a roundtable discussion on what we saw in 2020 in the digital marketing world and what we see coming in 2021. Grab your favorite drink, sit down, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Rob Cairns here. I'm here with my two good friends, Mr. Todd Jones and Mr. Ryan Waterbury, and we thought we'd do something a little different for you today. We do a bit of a roundtable and talk about trends in 2020 and move on to trends in 2021. Hey guys, how are both of you today?
Yo.
Oh, it's going to be one of those podcasts. I see.
Oh, dude, man, I got my Dusty Rhodes thing going on right now.
Yeah, I'm
Let's get
sure.
funky like a monkey.
I'm sure you do. So, Todd, tell the listeners you've been on before a little bit about yourself, please and thank you.
Please and thank you. I'm Todd, otherwise known as the Redneck Coffee Snob, and I hail from the great state of Arkansas. And I tell stories. It's amazing that people pay you to tell stories, but that kind of happens for me. So I like to do that, and I'm really I like stories in different forms. So whether it's pro wrestling or songs, I was just listening to Copperhead Road before we came on by Steve Earle and trying to gather some idea of the origin of Copperhead Road, the actual road. It may be fiction, I don't know, but I love to learn more about that. I'm all the time finding facts about the origins of songs or musicians, and when I do that, I feel like I know them better. It's like I feel like they're my friend almost, So love doing that, and love hearing the origin stories of entrepreneurs as well. So that's me.
Thank you, Todd. And Ryan, could you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? You've been on two before as well, so please.
Yeah. I'm Ryan, owner and operator of One Dog Solutions, a small marketing and web design agency in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Um, do the fun nonprofit and political work, and do dog training in my spare time. Looking at my dog sitting on the sofa next to me.
Got the most spoiled dog.
Yeah, he's not doing his job today, is he, Ryan? He should be working.
That bird dog.
We're in for 2 to 5 inches of snow starting in about an hour. So I'm happy to be at home, warm, and not leaving.
Yeah, that is a good thing. We've had our share here, and we actually have had a little bit of freezing rain last night. We're kind of hovering around freezing again, so it's kind of up and down. Maybe the nice people of Ontario that shouldn't be gallivanting all over in the middle of a lockdown will actually stay home. But that's as of this recording, we've hit over 2,500 cases in the province. So, we're in for a bit of a tough month, I think. So, So let's start with Todd and a trend you want to talk about that happened in 2020. So, and then
I was telling anybody who'd listened to me about this time of year last year that I thought e-commerce was going to take off more so than ever. I mean, we already had e-commerce shops. I have a number of younger colleagues, and by that I mean millennial and younger. And the ladies, I'll hear them talk about, oh, I picked up this art item on this e-commerce site, and et cetera. I never heard of these places either, by the way. They're not like big name retailers. And I'm like, I can see this coming. That generation and the generation X or Y, whatever what we have now coming out, that's just what they do. I mean, that's just how they buy. And so I thought, well, e-commerce is really going to take off, and it's really going to take off the next 5-10 years is what I thought. And then February happened in March, and all of a sudden everybody had to stay home. So in my little town in Arkansas, we have about 65,000 people. It's actually a fairly one of the probably top 10 size towns in Arkansas, but it's a small town as it were. And I was impressed that I watched many of the restaurants switch over to takeout and pick up. They did a really good job, and I think our community did a good job rallying behind them. Because the bottom line is we know the owners of these places, right? And we know, it's just like the coffee shops, right? I know the owners of every coffee shop, every small town coffee shop in town, and so they did a great job of switching over. There's plenty of third-party apps out there to help you facilitate that. They took advantage of them. Kudos to them. But as we are experiencing lockdown, it comes and goes, and I know that we've not been as locked down as Minnesota and Ontario in Arkansas, but we're also a smaller, more rural state. As you have more of these lockdowns, the need to buy toilet paper or whatever online is just skyrocketed, And so I've seen people start e-commerce sites over the last year. Even Ryan himself has launched one, and I'm working on one that I hope will have an e-commerce component. Actually, I'm working on two that I hope to have an e-commerce component to. I think it is the next, and it probably has been for some time, but I would call it the next new side gig, having an e-commerce site. I mean, some people have already done it, but you're seeing more people, maybe they already made jewelry and just did it for friends. All of a sudden, they're opening an Etsy shop and selling it there. Actually, my niece's husband, her sister has had a shop for a while for jewelry, and she does e-commerce as well. So, but you're going to see people, they're going to say, like, for instance, my nephew could do this if he wanted to. He's a carpenter by trade. Goes into homes, does the molding and all the carpentry type stuff in a house, a new build. But he also, on the side, builds bed frames, custom bed frames. So I could foresee one day him setting up a shop if he wants to. His girlfriend has gotten on Facebook, set him up a Facebook page, had him more business than he could really keep up with there for a while. So people sell. It's not. I mean, I say e-commerce is a short word, but basically people learning to sell online. I think people are learning to do that more and more now, and that is something that COVID-19 kind of sped up, if you will.
I would agree. Ryan, do you have any thoughts you want to add on that one?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of interject a little bit about the shift in some of the local restaurants, and I was pretty deep into expanding more into the hospitality market earlier in the year. My first whole quarter of blog articles was centered on how to do a responsive menu on a restaurant website, and how to market where you need to be, and local SEO. And that was absolutely killed a little bit. Part of the shift, Todd touched on it, that e-commerce, some of the successful restaurants doubled down on their marketing, social media marketing, added their own, and not the third party services, but they added their own or upgraded their own online ordering systems for delivery and curbside takeout. Grubhub, DoorDash, those guys take up to a 45% cut. So you saw some restaurants make the shift to online when we were locked down. Some are still doing well, but the ones that are really doing well are the ones that fully integrated into their own site, their own online ordering system. And they're still doing good marketing, reaching out on social channels. Um, so that's one thing that we saw earlier in the year. And yeah, e-commerce is growing and it's going to continue to grow. But at some point, with these new stores setting up, I mean, one of the statistics that I always throw out with with customers when we do a new build, you need to keep your site updated. You need to have content because
Yeah.
90% of the sites out there never see any traffic. So you can have the greatest store in the world, but if nobody knows about you're not going to make any sales. So as people are at home and we see a lot of these easy e-commerce systems like Shopify, for example, I mean, in a couple of hours, somebody that's fairly astute technically, especially the younger generations, they can have a shop up and running and ready to sell product. It's not difficult these days. So yeah, that's definitely going to continue to grow. But at what point do we see saturation? And who's going to win out there? So
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, it's funny. My mom said to me this year, "You do a lot of shopping on Amazon," and I say, "Well, I've actually shopped that way for 10 years, and for a long time, I lived near one of Canada's second biggest shopping malls. I just don't like the store experience. I'd rather, jump online at 11 o'clock at night, order what I want, get it delivered to my house. It takes a couple of days. The selection on Amazon is better than walking into most stores. I mean, even computer stores. I did one earlier this year. The laptop I'm on, I actually ordered it online and did a curbside pickup to pick it up and paid for it. And it was just easy. And it's getting easier and easier and easier. And I think, if you're rural, so you take somebody in a town like Thunder Bay, Ontario, they pay a premium for being in Thunder Bay. And I've got my good friend Leslie's brother, Al, orders online up in Thunder Bay because it's cheaper to order Amazon and have it shipped than it is to buy the stuff locally. And because you're paying a premium to import, or you get somebody isolated in the middle of nowhere, or a shut-in, or a senior, or even somebody like my mom who's 76 years old and shouldn't be out there. It's been a big deal, and I think in restaurants, you mentioned the cut. Ryan, in Ontario, they've actually regulated that you can't charge over 25% if you're Uber Eats or DoorDash. It is now illegal in the province of Ontario to charge more than that.
Yep. And locally in Minneapolis, the mayor just had his own executive order at 15%. And there's been a lot of pushback by those third-party agents.
It's hard. And we've even gone to the extent that if you have a liquor license in your store, you can offer liquor for delivery now. And they made an announcement last week in Ontario that you will not get that will continue even after COVID. That is now law. So if you're a restaurant moving forward, you can deliver liquor. Now you're going to pay a premium, and it's not like ordering from the liquor store, but still. So
we actually have a local delivery service that started up pre-COVID. I've been probably going a couple of years, and I thought I don't know what their prices are, but I would imagine that their charge on is probably a little bit less than the big ones you're talking about. So I don't know if anybody took advantage of them after COVID started or not, because they're the small fish, if you will, even though they're local. I mean, I've met the owners, kind of thing. So
yeah. So Ryan, what would be your number one thing that happened in 2020, or a shift that you've seen in your business besides the election?
Yeah, so that was an interesting thing. I know the last time I was on the podcast, we were talking about politics, and I've been involved with minor parties, both of our major parties in the United States, and doing marketing, campaign websites, and other things. So I was connected enough with with candidates and people running that, I mean, my second quarter was wiped out. It was all restaurant and and travel websites and marketing. That's what I had budgeted for, and I kind of cleared my slate. So I was scrambling because my project work was gone. I had my monthly work, but that started to die down as restaurants started to close. Um, and some of the first budgets to get cut are marketing budgets. So it's been interesting, but I shifted to doing political work throughout the year. Obviously, that ends in November, but I that that was always a fun filler thing, and I've been kind of personally looking at what I want to do in the next year. Man, nonprofits that I work with, the if you look at the statistics, they say that giving's up a couple of percent, and that's corporate giving because they want the tax write-offs. But individual giving is down a lot. So smaller niche nonprofits are going to need a lot of help to survive and function and actually pay their everyday expenses moving forward. So that's where I'm looking at my focus is not necessarily commercial moving forward, but solidifying that nonprofit niche and finding more unique ways for them to message that are cost effective and have high return on investment. I think both of you know I had talked about my Facebook ads account getting banned.
Oh, yes.
and that sweeping thing. So that's the other part of it. I'm looking at all the social media channels, and Facebook's the big player there. But and they came out with Facebook Shops, so they want to be that one-stop shop. But if you do something that hits their algorithm incorrectly, or you say the wrong thing, and your whole e-commerce and whole stores there, bam, you're done.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, that's kind of my goal for the first quarter next year's look at better messaging methods and other platforms that my commercial clients, my nonprofit clients can reach their clients and constituents. So,
Todd, do you want to add to that a little bit? Or?
Well, not in political space,
But I mean, in
I think,
the
you
shift.
know, you're talking about the individual donations being down, and I don't really know what you can do because people have to have money to give, other than to maximize your opportunities with people who do have money, wealthier people and corporates, and of course, you know what I'm going to say. Good storytelling. I mean, literally, if you read the book Stories That Stick, the Kendra Hall, I think her name, yeah. She tells stories about how she helped nonprofits with storytelling to, bring in donations. So that's just, but you're going to need to do something like that. And you're going to have to maximize the people who can give. I mean, right now, the nonprofits aren't getting from people because those people have to have help. So they're probably helping the people that normally they would get donations from. I mean, I've seen the hits here and locally as well in Conway. We have a number of nonprofits, and some of them have had to make some large transitions that maybe they didn't expect when the year started. And so, they're scrambling but that's going to be a tough nut to crack, honestly, as more people have less money to give.
Yeah, and it adds in the States even more, as of this recording, the $2,000 bill got through the House, but it's certainly not getting through the Senate, the last I read today. So, yes. I mean, apparently the Senate's now held up the bill again. So you've got...
Ryan and I had our $2,000 spent before we got it. And
that you're not getting that?
We're going to get it, so...
Yeah, I don't know what's
Stay tuned. That might change next week, but...
I don't know what's going to happen there. It's a dicey one right now. It's really dicey. And, I've talked about a lot with you guys and a multitude of people that I actually decided to take a full-time job in the middle of this mess. And it's probably the best thing I did because I have to tell you, I think in Ontario, the first quarter of this year, of 2011. 2021 is going to be really hard. I think it's hard.
I think the problems we're having, we've kind of been getting by in both your country and our country this year. And I think you're going to see the fallout over the next 2 to 3 years more so than now. It's going to be kind of a trickle down effect. And, a couple of years from now, that's when you're going to see the problems. But with these problems, there's new opportunities. And certainly, I know you're going to have Steve on in a little bit. One of the things he talks about in his book, The Freelancer Manifesto, is that the gig economy is here to stay.
I agree.
So with, more people is going to become self-employed because they're going to be turning to gigs. It may be selling something on their Shopify site or, something else, but they're going to do what they can to kind of scramble and put it together. We all would like to have a nice job, right? Making 6 figures, being comfortable and then do what we want. But, not everybody's, fortunate. And,
no.
I've heard the same type of story from other people. So
it's hard right now. And I think for me, the biggest trend that's happened in 2020 is we need to learn to take care of ourselves, do more self-care, look after our mental health. I was telling somebody the other day, and I've been pretty transparent about some of the stuff I've been gone through between a podcast and talking to people. And one of the things I was telling my therapist a week ago was I've read 35 self-care books since the end of September this year. So, the problem is with stuff like COVID, people are going stir crazy. People aren't looking after themselves. People aren't cutting people slack. There's nothing we can do about the lockdowns. I'm not happy about them. We're in one right now. I'm so displeased about it. It's not funny. But at the end of the day, can you control that? No. Can you do anything about it? No. So my whole philosophy is why worry about it? Work on the stuff you can control and make sure you take care of your mental health. And that means, and your physical health. So that means a couple of things. One, I go for a walk every day. 2, I meditate every day. Those 2 things help a lot of stuff. So you have to deal with that. So that's the key thing there. And I think we're now seeing many states and provinces have pulled out mental health money out of the budget. And we're now starting to see more money go back into mental health or them trying to do stuff because they realize it's a bit of a problem. So, so that's the key there. Todd, what do you see coming up for 2021?
So I was thinking about some of this, I guess, as I was writing an article, and I don't know if I have one glaring thing. I was thinking about something that came up in the last day or two, and I'm not sure where I read it, but they were saying they heard it on a podcast with copywriter Ben Settle. So if you guys know who Ben is, he's kind of a cranky old guy, but well, I don't know if he's older than I am. But he's a copywriter, and he definitely looks a lot different than some of the younger copywriters today. But apparently Ben said, and I've read other places where he's alluded to it, that the future of copywriting is entertainment, or he calls it infotainment. So I think there's true because, first of all, you're getting, and I'm not sure if it's your friend Neil Schaefer that said it, but content shock or whatever the word was he used. We're getting saturated with content now. You consume content in so many different places, so many different forms. And so what people tend to do is cram a lot of information into a 3,000, 4,000, 7,000 word blog post. That's a lot of information, first of all. And in the early days when nobody's doing it, it was kind of like, whoa, look at that. Now more and more people are doing it. And now if you're not careful, your info is going to be dull and boring. So I really am like, make it less boring. And that's like something, your content is boring. Make your content less boring.
Yeah.
And there's ways of doing that, but and it's not just that, but doing something different. So last week, I did this for fun, also kind of as a trial. And I think both of you guys read it because I think I showed it to you. My night before, it was the night before Christmas, main WP style. Now, if you read it and you knew the original poem, but you don't know anything about main WP, you'd probably lost, and that's fine. You both of you guys know main WP, so I alluded to main WP stuff and WordPress maintenance and security, and even 3 members of the main WP team, and you just had a good time with it. And I don't know if it registered on the Richter scale, to be honest with you, but finding different ways. I mean, the very worst thing you can do is to do the same thing everybody else does.
Yeah.
So I guess it's differentiation. Is how can you be different, and in your content, one, do something no one else does, and make your content less boring. So if that means interactive content, I've been saying this for a while. I think interactive content is something we need to do more of. Yoast put out a waterfall type landing page. I forgot the topic, and I came across it. Actually, put it in one of my, and they put a lot of work into it. Now, it wasn't probably as great as everybody made it out to be, but it was still pretty cool because they did something different. It kind of scrolled a little bit, and but let's try to find a way to make it interactive. I mean, people have done parodies of What's the Night Before Christmas, but I'm not sure I've ever seen it in the WordPress space. But I mean, now obviously one of the things you can do is tell stories, and there's different ways to tell stories. There's no one way to tell stories, right? We watch, you and I, Rob, watch wrestling regularly. I mean, that's all that is, one long storytelling venture.
Yeah, it's true.
So I guess what I want to see, as much as anything, is have less boring content, because there's so much of it out there to help yourself stand out among a sea of content. Because also, and I direct this as much towards some of our WordPress friends as anybody, but this is true across the board. The very worst thing you can do is do the same thing everybody else does, to look like their website, to look like their, branding or whatever. I mean, people see something they like and they basically want to copy it. First of all, that you're looking at plagiarism. Second of all, it doesn't tell your unique story, your unique message. And so find a way to differentiate. I'm picking up more of this from Steve Roller as well, because he talks about it both in the back room and his Facebook group and in his book. And between you and Steve, I think, Rob, I've really picked up on the differentiation thing more in the last year. And I want to see people, you just can't look like your friends. You got to look different. And
true. So true. One of the reasons I like that book called The Inside Advantage by Robert Bloom so much, it talks about differentiating and all of that. And it's like 10 years old and it's still more relevant. Ryan, 2021, what do you see?
I think 2021 is going to be a tough year. Rolling into it, I don't think we really won. I don't think we've 100% felt the economic effects yet. And I still see local restaurants closing, and that has a ripple effect to businesses like mine that service them, and supply companies and other related businesses. That second wave, that ripple out, is just starting to happen. And thanks for Todd. So I think going into 2021 is, I think you need to take a little step back and be cautious on any big decisions, and find success in the wins that you can get. I took a little note from Todd's book in my last newsletter, wrote a nice little story, and shared a really good success story. Because 2020 hasn't been great with big wins and successes. So what I've been telling my customers and the projects that we're working on, let's focus on the positive things that are going on. Look for positive momentum, and try and find some solutions that are economical and make sense that we can reach their clients. So yeah, it's a lot of cautious, and I don't really want to say negative or optimistic. Um, just wait and see what happens after quarter one.
Be flexible.
I'm not really optimistic. I'm not pessimistic. It's something that I've talked about with my customers, and I've laid out my plan on some changes that we're making to be more efficient in my agency and offer some new services to clients, and promote some of the ones that we've done for a while that people aren't taking advantage of, and just reacquaint acquaint
Hmm.
current clients. And that was something that in 2020 that was really beneficial.
Yeah.
When the pandemic hit, I kind of panicked and looked at my client base dwindling or cutting services, and I sent out an email and I just said, "Hey, I'm here. These are the things that I can help you with that I think are beneficial. What can we do?" And I was just floored at the response back on, you know, I had a few clients that I've been doing print work for 10 years.
Hmm.
And they said, "You do email marketing?" And I said, "Yeah, I have for a long time."
Yeah.
"Well, we need help with that." And so, building those relationships and expanding things that I've done with my client base are things that my clients can benefit from too, by
Yeah.
reaching out to people that they've worked with in the past that have been good customers. I think those relationships and working through additional services and helping, your current client base. I think
Hmm.
that's what I'm gonna focus on going into 2021.
Yep.
Finding those successes.
Yeah, I think you have to at this point. Though, the world's been tough. For me, it's kind of getting my ducks in a row in my personal life, which you both know I've been working on, and sorting that out. That's just going to take time. And I have to tell you, the pandemic either helps it or hurts it. I'm not sure which at times. I mean, it gives you time to work on stuff, but it doesn't really give you time to get together because you shouldn't be running all over the place. So we got a lot of that going on. So that will just work itself through. In terms of everything else, I think you just got to realize, I think the first half of this year is going to be really tough until we get some vaccines out there. I think we're going to be in and out of lockdowns, whether we like it or not in some areas. I think they'll come, they'll go. And I think we just got to kind of take stock and say, okay, what do we have to do to make this better? And just kind of keep working it through, kind of thing. So that makes it really hard. Todd, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation? You good?
I don't think so.
No, Ryan, do you have anything you want to add or bring up or uh, or throw out there?
I, I don't think so.
No.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I think we're all starting to get COVID hangover, guys. I really do, like, honestly. So, Todd, if somebody wants to get a hold of you about copywriting, how is the best way to get you and get in touch with you?
Uh, website is copyflight.com. Mostly doing copy projects that relate to storytelling. I'm working on, I guess, productized services, I guess, for that. And
Good.
so your origin story as a company, I think that it helps you build trust, be more likable. A lot of the local businesses say that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. Well, you can hit all three of those check marks with a good origin story, and then using stories in your emails or your blog content, that kind of stuff. So
Great. Ryan, how can somebody get a hold of you and get help from you?
Yeah, so you can hit my website at onedog.solutions, and social media at One Dog Solutions on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Happy New Year. Hope everybody's well. Stay safe, stay home, do what you have to do, because we're kind of in this mess together, aren't we, at this point? So
Mhm.
have a great day, guys. Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.
A special thanks to Ryan and Todd for joining me on this very special episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did doing it for you. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns, and my wife, Jill McLean Cairns. Love you both very much. If you'd like to get in touch with me, email me at vip@stunningdigitalmarketing.com or go on over to my website, stunningdigitalmarketing.com, on Twitter at Rob Cairns. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. Look me up. Say hello. Love to have a conversation. Please take care of yourself and your loved ones. It's a tough time with COVID-19 going on, and frankly, the end is not near, and just be careful. From Ontario, the province of lockdown, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and make your business succeed. Bye for now.